Yes? We good? Got her back? Woohoo! We got it. Okay, so once again, I know you all an explanation of what's been going on. In the background, I was making progress in working against the hackers, disabling the pain stuff, and trying to find decks. And, of course, making plans for the next review so I can give my brain a break from all this insanity, and then the hackers upload a video. To which case, real fucking mature, guys. You can cut it with the 2 the arc and Tribe 12 bullshit. This is your first time doing this shit because it seems like it. You got some guy with some nice editing skills. Big fucking whoop. Who hired these morons? You don't tell me you have an employer. That's just gonna motivate me to investigate, and guess who is behind this besides you idiots? Your other mess up was giving me an idea of what happened to Dex. Now that I know he went to protect his systems, I know where to find him. Granted, I'm guessing all my movement, and of course these videos, are probably being monitored, so no way I'm going to go after him directly, so I can get out. I'm going to make sure you're locked out first, or at least can't follow me. At least that would have been the plan beforehand, but given your tweet, maybe that might be the case, maybe that might be. I'm still considering your deal. But yeah, I do want to help my friend. But until I can get far enough to mess with the coding and stuff, I gotta continue with this. If I was to compliment these hackers about anything, they at least seem to know what they're doing in my system. Slightly concerning seeing this whole thing as a custom job made by me and the team. Fuck, they better not be. Or more likely, better not have kidnapped one of my ex-teammates. That would be a problem. Anywho, point of this video besides my rambling, it's time to go back into the 2000s and talk about our next game. Cue the intro!
It's cheesy. Wait. Is that my theme song?
Well, it hasn't been finalized yet.
Wanky, wanky, tanky, tanky, what the is that?
You're being difficult.
You're being an
Yes! Tiny Tank! To which case your first response by me, Tiny Tank isn't a 2000s game. To which case I say, you really know your video game history. But it's my show, so can it? Tiny Tank is an action arcade platforming shooter released in the US in the September of 1999 as a PlayStation exclusive. That said, most of its player bases got into the game during 2000 and 2001. Today, it's considered a cult classic by the many who got a chance to grow up with it, myself included. Speaking of which... Okay, so I got a little into the history a bit, but the history of Tiny Tank is way more interesting than even I knew going into this. But before that though, a bit of my personal history with this game jumps all the way back to a friend I had in elementary school whose mother just so happened to run a sort of selective daycare service for her family and the families of her friends, of which my mother was one of them. Anywho, I would spend a bunch of time with this friend playing games with him on his PlayStation or watching episodes of Sonic Sat AM. Games-wise, there was a lot of semi-known but not megalar popular titles for the PlayStation. Out of those ones, I do remember we would play a lot of Driver 1 and 2. One of the games in the Gex franchise, I honestly can't remember which off the top of my head, even though I have played all 3, and I think it might have been 2. And of course, finally, Tiny Tank. Later down on the line, I was able to pick up a copy of Tiny Tank from the guys at Pink Gorilla. And I am glad I did it there, because this game is expensive these days. Lowest price on everyone's favorite shady website, eBay, has it listed at $60. The Amazon listings are for $100 before shipping. So, needless to say, this game is rare to find these days, and the sellers out there know it. So good luck playing this anytime soon without doing emulation. Anyway, the game was developed by a company called And Now in collaboration with Alapalooza Interactive. You know, the guys who made the Simpsons arcade cabinet, Echo the Dolphin, the PlayStation South Park game, which was the game they worked on right before Tiny Tank, funny enough, and of course, probably my favorite game in their list of production, Impossible Mission 2.
Another visitor. Stay a while. Stay forever.
Granted, they started life as Neurotrade International before the name of the company was changed in 1996. The doors closed in 2006, and a lot of the devs moved on to other companies, most of which was Sega of America or Sony Interactive, due to the long-standing history of work with both companies. In total, they made around 150 games across the 24 years in the industry. As for And Now, I can't find any info on them due to the lack of records, nor can I figure out which of the two development sides came up with the Tiny Tank concept. I do know that Alapalooza was in charge of most of the gameplay, though. And when it comes to And Now, I do also know that they had a website at one point. However, I cannot seem to dig it up on the Internet Wayback Machine whatsoever. Only the fact that I do know that it did exist. Even more interesting is the game was tied to MGM Interactive, who were the initial publisher before they lost interest in the project and forked it over to Sony Computer Entertainment America, who funded the rest of the title and sent it on a limited release in both the US and PAL regions, gaining some middle-of-the-road reviews. The only one I can still find these days is, well, IGN's. Ugh. Slip of the tongue. And if you think that's strange, just wait till you hear the plot of this thing. Oh boy!
Tiny Tank, come in. Come in, Tiny Tank.
Yeah, keep your voice down. Ow. Where are you?
Okay, so our story begins on a soundstage in the distant year of 2098. A company called Centrax wants to make a robot army to fight in wars on the behalf of humanity, but they need the vote of the people to get approval to implement this plan so they could appease the government. To make sure the masses vote yes, they create an artificial intelligence robotic tank mascot codenamed Tiny Tank.
Tiny Tank is my slave name.
Tiny, of course, does his job to get the vote by working with a film crew to make promotional material for the vote of yes. And while it is mandated that Tiny act cute to get the vote, he is in fact a rude asshole who tends to speak his mind. But Tiny did do his job and Centrax got the yes vote. So they set up a live stream to have Tiny fight the Finnish Centrax army. Now then, the crew was supposed to load the army with blanks, but accidentally loaded them with live ammo, resulting in Tiny's Cytronic brain, which was the housing for his AI, to get shattered and corrupted. The fragments from his brain then spread electronically to the Centrax army, giving the army self-awareness and turning them evil. They go on a rampage led by one of the machines calling himself Mutank against the human race, forcing them to hide underground in massive bunkers that were designed for survival during the atomic warfare age. 100 years later, to the day on July 4th of 2198, Tiny gets revived by mistake, and another AI that happens to live on a satellite takes advantage of that and sends Tiny Tank after Mutank so they can save the human race. Yeah, you heard that right. We, the player, as Tiny, are to save humanity's last legs from what is basically Skynet. Sign me the hell up.
Centrax made me? Mommy, Daddy, I want a pony and a puppy. Can I go out and play?
No, back to one. Centrax, remember. Centrax.
I think I was adopted.
So beyond the kick-ass story, the gameplay is rather simple. You take control of Tiny Tank in the form of third-person shooter. In a game where tank controls actually make sense for once, given that you're playing a fucking tank, you're given a bunch of different objectives, mostly destroying stuff per each area, gaining more and more bits of the story and lore via the radio transmissions from Mutank, who gets more and more pissed off at your existence, as well as getting cutscenes of the behind-the-scenes of the Tiny Tank promo between some of the levels. You fight against other types of robots, even clones of you used by Mutank, as well as a bunch of bosses. One of the cooler things about the gameplay is that if you kill another robot, you can pick up its weapon and carry it about. You're allowed 4 weapons, 2 in the front facing in the same direction as your nose blaster, which you can turn 360 degrees, and 2 in the back, which fire behind you. You can change their positions at any time in the menu system and can get some pretty wild combinations of weaponry, like say having a rocket launcher and a chain gun to take down a robot cowboy. You also have these even smaller tanks that you can use from Tiny's body that can either be remote controlled or set to automatically do a whole host of things. Though they are automatically set to explode by default and you have a limited number of them, so use them carefully. Of course, you also have a health system in the form of 2 bars, your actual current health and your nano-metal meter. Nano-metal makes the Tiny Tank world go round, so make sure you collect a lot of it. If you run out of nano-metal, then you cannot heal. You have 4 lives to start, but can earn more. And while there is a saving system, it only works if you have a PlayStation 1 memory card. I say this because I played the game on backwards compatibility on the PS2, and it doesn't want to work with the PS2 memory card. Oh, and the game is hard. Like, really fucking hard. Nothing like, say, Dark Souls, but I will say that if it wasn't for the backdoor in the main menu that lets you access level select, I would not have been able to finish this game on 4 lives alone. Mostly because of this one dude who switches heads with you, leaving you in control of the body, trying to move in such a way that you can aim your head from the body of the enemy, which is moving at random, so you can shoot yourself and rid the enemy's head off your body while he is shooting your head, trying to kill you. I hope the footage that I'm showing can better explain that than I can. So you better get used to the game over cutscene where Mutank sucks away all the air from the earth, killing the human race. Because you're going to see it a lot unless you're that one speedrunner who made the only run on speedruns.com that has stood for 4 years. Did I mention that this game is rare? Because it is rare. Kind of want to get good at the game now to beat that 48-minute run. I see you, Sneakalicious. That is a goal now, and I'll do it on my own copy too. None of this emulator crap. Anyway, again though, for now, I need to use the level select screen, to which case, get this. You have to hold down all 4 triggers, the left and circle buttons, all at the same time, then hit the select button with your nose, all while hovering over the new game selection on the main menu. And no, I'm not kidding. You have to hit it with your nose. Like, excuse me, but what? Luckily, the 14 levels have us in good hands. Sure, the visuals haven't aged well, but hey, it's that retro charm going for it, so that at least helps. Music-wise though, this game is stellar. Real fun mix of rock, synth, and some early EDM tunes. It's all got this nice cinematic flair to it that makes you feel like a badass at all times, except for the game's main theme for Tiny Tank, which is something that feels like it's right out of some 60s shit show.
Cue the music, Fred.
Come and meet the new machine from Centrax. He's got a cannon for a nose. He's a little guy with a laser for an eye. He has metal treads instead of toes.
That's me.
He's got machine guns in his turret. He likes to talk to boys and girls. He's a funny little thing, and he loves to dance and sing. Most of all, he loves to save the world. Tickety-tick,
It's cheesy.
clickety-clack,
Really cheesy.
new from Centrax. Tiny Tank. Here's Tiny.
Well, Tiny, what did you think?
What is up with that tinky tinky?
I thought it was kind of catchy.
Shut up, Fred.
Yeah, everything besides that is good. I just wish I could remember some of the names of the tracks better, you know, for editing purposes. Okay, so I'm honestly not sure what to say here this go around. Mostly this game has a lot more to it than I remember, and it certainly has something going for it. I mean, it has its own fan wiki, like most games these days, and enough people made a fuss to at least have Cadicrus give it a look. But other than that, we really don't know a whole lot about this game. A lot of documentation has been lost to time. I can't even find any names of the people I could try and contact about it for the development process, other than what is online. I would love to hear the story of how this came to be, and who exactly had such a wild idea of a crazy little tank. As far as I can tell, Tiny Tank didn't take off like Alapalooza Interactive clearly thought it would, given how much work they put into this thing. And it's only now later on in time that people recognize that yes, this game existed, and yes, it is really fun. It's a super dumb and fun game, and if you have the means and finances to get a copy, I highly recommend it. Tiny Tank gets a 4 out of 5. A few things hold it back, but not much, and it only makes me wonder what else could have come from it if the publishers saw as much potential as its developers. And that's my review of Tiny Tank. If you've enjoyed this video, then why not throw a like on it? It really helps out in engaging what kind of stuff to do and talk about in the future. I got a couple of plans in mind, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on next time I break through the data walls. Speaking of which, you can get up to date on that front via my Twitter page at tmandude291. I tried to keep it up to date, but not everything goes through. Now then, if you excuse me, I have to mask my digital location and look into a few leads on where the hell my AI is. Hopefully, I'll be able to get out of this mess with his help. Hopefully. Till next time, this is TmanDude291, signing